Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm about to read chapter 2. You can find chapter 1 in my videos on my channel if you want to follow along. Before I get started, I should warn you that there are going to be some words you're not going to recognize because there is a new language in this story. It's most prominent in this chapter and in the next. After which, after the next two chapters, you won't see very many of them after that. It's going to be very rare, but just keep that in mind. I basically took the alphabet and I rearranged the letters, the consonants with the consonants and the vowels with the vowels. And some of the words that are often used together, like ST, I kept those in mind when I was rearranging my letters. So, anyway, and I'm sorry again, I'm not very good at reading out loud, so just bear with me. I wake from behind closed eyes. Something is different about this time, although I am so out of it and too comfortable to pinpoint what it could be. Through my nerve endings, I feel grass twitching through my small fingers and on my face. My body doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like my body anymore. I move my toes. They seem smaller. That's when I realize, like a wave of energy traveling from my feet all the way to my shoulders, everything is smaller. I open my eyes and see my new tiny hand. In shock, I sit up and stare at my body. It looks familiar. I assume it's that of a 10-year-old version of me. What the hell? Realizing that I'm wearing my father's leather coat, I pull back the excess of my right sleeve and notice the plating. On both of the coat's arms, there are 4 strips of black metal studded into the leather material. Each strip wraps halfway around the outer arm and equally spreads across its entire length. The spaces between each metal strip are only enough to pull the sleeve far enough back to see some of my forearm. The armor doesn't stop at my arms though. There are small flat shells of metal designed similar to the muscle patterns of a man's midsection studded into their respective locations and weight of even more plating on my back. I look at my hands, my arms, and my clothes. My brows furrow, and the instant rush of memories comes flooding back of all that had just happened. I remember studying my hands that exact same way only minutes ago. It wasn't a dream I had experienced before, was it? Wait, how could it have been? I'm now wearing the unique coat my father wore. Am I dreaming now? Though my head is groggy and my face is tired, I feel confident that I'm awake. Panicking, I quickly look left and right to assure myself that I'm safe. I don't see anything threatening, just weird. I'm in a forest, or maybe a jungle? What's weird about that, you wonder? The trees have humongous trunks the width of a fast food joint. They're not redwood trees, the bark is similar, but the 3-foot-long leaves have blue spots over shades of green. The trees aren't the only oddities I detect here either. Everything around me is unfamiliar. I watch a yellow insect that sits on a rock. It reminds me of a grasshopper. While studying it, I observe that the bug has 3 small talons on each foot. Its beady black eyes don't notice me, yet it twitches to the sound of my movements. I'm amazed when it stands up on its long hind legs and runs, not hops, but runs away from me. I scan to the branches above where another creature catches my attention. At first it looks like a snake slithering on a branch. I realize I'm wrong, however, when the outer skin of its body separates and pulls away. The skin splits down the center of its back and begins to flutter. Under the scaled exterior, there are long emerald green wings. It floats off the branch, shaped more like a dragonfly now. After staring back at me, it turns and flies off into the distance. I hear a crackling sound of grass behind me and sense that I'm not alone. Damn, I should have looked behind me. Slowly, I get to my feet and turn around. The woman in the cloak stands there in a thick fog. She's as creepy as ever behind the shadowy face. Welcome here. Where is my father? I ask in a childish tone that surprises me. Gone. Father is gone. Where did he go? What happened to me? Father is gone. No time, closed mouth, man coming, trust man. Her irate voice is so intimidating that I freeze in fear. What can a man inside a small child's body do to an adult as daunting as her, anyway? Her posture relaxes. Man coming, trust man, he take you home. Safe home, know you're coming. Home? They'll take me back to my home? No. You're home dead. Gone. I jerk my head back. My house is dead? She pulls her arms out of her cloak. The woman is dressed in black cloth, all the way down to the ends of her fingers. She motions a circle with her two pointer fingers, and I realize she's referring to Earth. Dead, she answers as she completes the circle. She glances to the left before turning back to me. I go. Next time we meet, I dangerous. No trust me after now. No trust me. Me different me. Understand? I cannot speak. I want to, but I can't. My mind is unable to pull away from the image of Earth destroyed. Understand? She asks again, rushed. I clear my throat. No. She glances to the left again, as if expecting someone. I go now. No time. No, I don't understand. Wait. What happened to my home? Why did it die? She looks at me through the shadow of her hood, and I stare back deep into that mysterious void where her face hides. She points at me, then motions the circle one last time. Your destiny. You killed your home. It's the clearest thing she has said since I met her. I put my hand to my frail chest. How could I have killed Earth? The thought is unfathomable. I can't say that word. Unfathomable. The strange woman raises an arm out to her right and away from me. Then a mysterious green energy masses around her hand and forms an orb. I stare in amazement as another mass of green energy forms about 5 feet from her hand in the shape of a nearly flat, large oval. The energy is moving in a clockwise flow. She walks straight into the perpendicular vortex and then is simply gone. The portal's mass brightens and then evaporates in an electric fashion. I stare blankly as I cannot believe what I had just witnessed. It takes me a few seconds to realize that a gruff male voice is directing unrecognizable words toward me. The voice is coming from the direction the woman kept glancing toward. I'm still in a state of shock as I turn my head and see a man with walnut brown skin and pointy ears protruding from the sides of his long face. I quietly quote myself, "Man coming, trust man, he take you home." Still, she could have warned me the man is an elf. From this distance, his features are almost human. He has his hair wrapped behind his pointed ears and has tied it into a tail in the back. His clean-shaven face looks like he's in his mid-30s. From my new, shorter body, it's hard to determine his height. The man seems gigantic, at around 7.5 feet tall. He's skinny and stringy, and yet has plump, toned muscles. The elf is dressed in a style that blends Native American leather clothes with the modern-day jeans and t-shirt styles. His coffee brown tunic is sleeveless and has a laced collar. He has shin guards made of leather and hard shells. The shells are light green and molded perfectly to his legs. The elf has a long bow with a set of arrows on his back. Kona Hara Kylb. That's the word that's really hard to pronounce. It's Khlb. Anyway, Kona Hara Kylb, he says as he gestures his hand for me to follow him. I walk toward the man and can feel 2 heavy objects on the inside of my father's coat. There's one on each side of me, banging against my lower legs. When I approach him, dragging father's long coat and holding my unfitted pants up, I watch him chuckle. His warm smile is all it takes to convince me that this man, or elf, is worth trusting. Now standing next to him, I observe that his skin doesn't appear smooth. Instead, it looks like the rough bark of a tree. When I examine his skin further, however, I can see that isn't the case. His skin is as smooth as mine. He has black veins that camouflage his skin. As I comprehend the misconception of his skin, he snickers and gestures for me to look behind him. I do, only to shriek in fear. The man walks toward a large creature that reminds me of a prehistoric raptor covered in thick fur. Its face is so threatening with its long mouth and sharp teeth. The elf grabs a hold of the odd saddle on its back and holds a hand out to suggest I take it and get on. Not an easy task, but what else can I do? Once on the hairy steed, sitting behind the elf, the smooth feel of the two-legged mount impresses me as we exit the body of trees and speed over the hills of this open alien landscape. Ever since waking, everything I see is unlike anything I've ever seen before. It's all so much to take in, from the birds to the flowers to the small and not so small animals roaming the land. The lush world I'm now on appears to be untouched by the advancements of technology. Strangely, there are no mountains in any direction as far as the eye can see. Where am I? I glance up at the elf and wonder what's next. Wyston, he says while patting his chest. He must be announcing his name. As I'm about to tell him my name, I realize this is a chance to reinvent myself. The woman in red told me I wasn't going home to Earth. Earth is gone, she said. It's dead. Oh God. Does that mean my father is dead? I pause to think of how I want to respond to Wyston and feel a sadness brew inside me. Nathan, I tell him as I point to my chest and adopt my father's name. The pages are sticking together. Thinking of him, I remember the objects inside my father's coat that I ignored earlier. I let go of Wyston and test my balance. It's as if I'm riding on the back seat of a motorcycle, one safer than my father's. I pull the length of the coat up to me and peer inside. My father left me weapons. Guns are holstered to the inside leather wall. By looking at the recognizable sections of the handle, I'd swear that they are his chrome Desert Eagles. However, two major modifications that I've never seen before are now on the handles. The ammo clip seems to be loaded from the back of the handle instead of the bottom, and the more noticeable change replaces the clip's original point of entry. A foreign metal casing clips over the bottom inch of the handles. Off the casing, a mounted ball joint connects each gun to a long, skinny object that I can swear, yes again, is a blade lying parallel to the barrel. These blades are 2 1/4 feet in length. The coat's inner wall sheathes them in a way that implies a man would cross his arms to pull the weapons out of his coat. I want to pull these guns out and confirm that it's a Desert Eagle, but I don't want to risk scaring the elf and losing his trust. I want to pause there for a moment. It does explain those weapons in better detail later on in the book. For a better reference now, because I've understood that it's still hard to explain. Picture a Desert Eagle, but at the bottom of it, they have attached a ball joint, and on that ball joint, off that ball joint, is a long katana-like blade. There are buttons on the clip that has attached to the handle. So the clip goes all the way up the back, all the way up the front of the handle, and there's a lever to make the ball joint loose, to make the blade just kind of sway and dangle, or you can swing the lever the other way, and it stiffens in whatever direction the blade is currently at. So you could swing it up like it currently is, and it's aligned with the barrel of the blade, or barrel of the gun, and it extends past the barrel of the gun, or it could be set to loose, drop straight down, and it would dangle from the handle, and he can swing it however which way he wants, like a nunchuck almost, kind of, and then suddenly make it tight if he wants. That's the basic point of these weapons. There's also a reason why in this book he can't, or why he can wield two of these guns when usually you don't want to wield a Desert Eagle in only one hand. You want to hold it with two hands usually, because those guns are huge and powerful. But there is a reason, but I won't explain that right now. Anyway, getting back to the story. It seems several hours later when we stop near a river to stretch our legs. By this time, I've tightened my belt, wrapping it around my waist twice, and I've lost both of my shoes that no longer fit my feet. I also realize that my wristwatch and cell phone have gone missing. They must have fallen off somewhere along the way. I know that my watch didn't fit my new small wrist, but I'm not even sure I had my phone when I woke today. It doesn't matter, as I obviously can't get service out here. Wyston bends over to drink from the river and gestures that I do the same. I am hesitant at first because I'm unsure that this water is safe for my body to drink. Wyston glares at me, so I take my chances, and it tastes like normal water, unchanged from the fact that I'm on an alien planet. As I cut my hands together and pull water up to my mouth again, I watch a 5-inch red-scaled fish with a yellow head swim upstream. What's more, it has a much wider spread of fins than I ever seen on a fish that size. Wyston stands up and pulls a handful of some plum-colored leaves out from a pocket on his saddle. He takes a small bite of the plant, and then gives me a handful of the leaves. I must trust him, so I eat as he suggests. It has a strong, bitter flavor that I'm not fond of. I try to reject it, but he becomes unpleasantly adamant that I eat. He points to his mouth, and then to his forehead, with a stern expression on his face. I finish my portion of the food, and it's time to get back on Wyston's steed. After another long trek through the spacious open landscape, it's near nightfall when Wyston points out in front of us. He directs my eyes to a giant mass of tiny individual lights pouring out of a thick body of trees. I'm about to arrive at my new home, I think, as I see that at least a few hundred people have come to greet me at the entrance bearing candles. Kalkona Hona, Nate. When we approach, the elves move aside to allow us into some sort of village society. Many of the thicker trees appear hollow, with a single entry point, and have an internal yellow light source. A few appear to be stores with displays of leather goods outside of them. I study the mass of people staring up at me and learn that there are two races of elves living here. Wyston's race, like him, is very tall, with camouflaged walnut skin and high-pointed ears. Most have defined muscles, yet their bodies are stretched out, making them slender like gymnasts. The other race of elves are near opposite of Wyston's race. They're between 4 to 5 feet tall, have a lighter oak-brown skin with no visible veins. Their ears are much larger, pointed lower and farther away from their heads, and their bodies tend to be plump and undefined. Both races share the same hair colors, ranging in a wide variety of earth tones from black to brown and auburn. While many of the adults dress similarly to Wyston, a lot of them are wearing thick robes, which seem to be favored among the shorter race. The taller, darker elf children are wearing poncho-shaped leather items with ropes belted at their waist. And then there are the lighter-skinned children, who wear leather shirts and belts with strings of leather that drape them like grass skirts or kilts. After taking all of this in, I close my eyes and focus on my other senses. I need to assure myself that this is really happening, and not some virtual reality game that I've fallen into or a dream I'll wake up from. I breathe in and smell the smoky air of burning wood, as well as the musty fur of the steed. I hear quiet clunks, clangs, and the stomps of feet. I feel the soft air slide over my face. It's warm, but cooling from the setting of the sun. Is it all real? All of my senses says it is. When I open my eyes, my heart flutters at the sight of a man bearing a sword on his back. I pay closer attention to the people's accessories and comprehend that many are carrying some sort of medieval weaponry. I've always wanted these weapons to be commonplace in my world, and now they are. Suddenly, my excitement turns to fear. They can't be planning to use them on me, can they? I considered jumping off the furry beast to run away, but where would I go? How could I survive alone on this alien world? The woman said that Wyston would take me to a new home. For now, I'll have to keep reminding myself of this. Wyston dismounts and pulls me off the steed, while the people start whispering words I don't understand. They are all interested only in me. I watch the crowd scan me from head to toe, paying the most attention to my ears. I'm nervous because they're not smiling or acting very welcoming. Most of them are emotionless. They don't appear to be scared of me. They merely act as if they've never seen a human before. I'm going to wait a second. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a guy dragging something across the road, and it's very loud. So give me just a moment. How you guys doing? Anyway, back to where I was at now. We walk through the village until we come to the bottom of a cliff with a rather large waterfall. This is the first obstruction in the otherwise flat land that I've seen all day. The oak-colored elves form in front of the waterfall and begin to pray with whispering voices. Glowing yellow dots appear at the backs of their necks in a pattern that carries down their spines. Then the waterfall in front of them separates at the center and reveals a dark cave. I can't explain it with any other idea than that of watching real magic. Wow, real magic. Last page, you guys. Well, last page on this format. In a different format, it'd be probably called pages, but anyway. Out of the misty hole, a massive ramp slides out of the darkness. It doesn't move in a mechanical manner, rather it floats out and lands over the embedded river. Wyston places a hand on the center of my back as we walk onto the ramp and into the cave. Once we're past the first 50 feet, a faint blue light illuminates from around the edge of the left wall. We walk around the corner and find creatures similar to bats that have glowing bodies. They cover the ceiling and create a dim image of a swerving path we must follow. I just wish I could see the ground. Sorry, After what feels like a mile to my little legs, we discover a spiral staircase with burning torches on its outer wall. This leads us to a platform that seems to be made of hollow glass, with glowing red insects inside. We step onto the round platform, and it slowly starts to rise. The tunnel walls appear to be made of wood, and there are several alternate paths branching out from the main tunnel. I soon sense that we're well above the height of the waterfall we walked into. The main tunnel... just lost my spot. When the platform stops rising and takes us through one of the many detouring tunnels, it feels like we're 15 stories up from where we were when we walked into the cave. The platform slides into a brightly lit, snow globe-shaped room made of glass that's nested on wood branches. I peek through the glass and notice that we're inside one of the largest trees I had seen earlier today. The view is amazing. Further up, there are more glass rooms like this one. But that's not what I find so beautiful. It's the village. It's much larger than I had thought it was. More like the size of a city. The lights on the ground look like stars inside the body of trees. The room itself is similar to a council room or place of royalty to me, with its green and gold tiled floor. Books and tan-colored papers are stacked everywhere on a huge cluttered table that bears the same theme as the floor. At the far end of the table, there's a young female elf of about 10 years old. She's writing in one of her many books. The girl is different from the others and is the closest to human I have seen all day. She has a round face with almond eyes and a small nose. Her skin is pale white, and the points of her ears lay high on her head, comparable to the walnut-colored race. She's wearing white robes, and her fiery red hair is so long that it ends only a foot from the ground. She looks up with surprise and begins to talk with Wyston in a high-pitched voice. She walks up to me while staring with curiosity. Unlike the others, she isn't taking special interest in my ears. She's more interested in my eyes than anything else. The girl attempts to touch my cheeks with both hands. I allow her this, and at the instant that her fingers touch my skin, she jumps ever so slightly, as if shocked by static. She giggles and gives me a cute smile. Cute for someone much too young for me. I may be 10 years old again, but I have the mind of a 17-year-old. She jumps in excitement and proceeds to hug me. I wonder if the woman in red brought me here to be some sort of mate for this young girl. This is an uncomfortable thought. And that's the end of chapter 2. I was having a hard time with that one, guys. It's been a while since I read that one, so I'm sorry if I stuttered there a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and end it there. I might do a separate video to kind of go over the last 2 chapters. Just kind of summarize the last 2 chapters. But alright, guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you later. Bye.